Gonzaga legend and Northern Arizona assistant coach Gary Bell Jr. joins the program today to discuss working alongside Mark Few, coaching in the modern era, and answer some listener-submitted questions, all right here on the Locked On Zags podcast.
You are Locked On Zags, your daily podcast on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Locked On Zags podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host and longtime Gonzaga podcaster, Andy Patton, here to give you news and updates on all things Zag athletics. Today's episode of Locked On Zags is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Folks, very excited to get to today's show. We are interviewing Gary Bell Jr., of course, former Zag from 2011 to 2015, 2015 WCC Defensive Player of the Year, now an assistant coach at Northern Arizona, where he is working to implement the Gonzaga high-tempo offense with that Lumberjacks team. We'll get right into this interview, a fantastic one. Very excited for you all to get a chance to check it out. Well, I am thrilled and honored to be joined today by Gary Bell Jr., the 2015 WCC Defensive Player of the Year. Gary entering his second season as the assistant coach at Northern Arizona after spending 1 year as a coordinator for basketball administration at Gonzaga, 2 years as a graduate assistant with the Zags, and of course, 4 years professionally playing overseas. Gary, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate having you here.
Man, thanks for having me, Andy.
Yeah, so I kind of want to start talking about you being one of a few people. I know JP Batista is in there, Zach Norvell is in there, of course, Brian Michelson and Stephen Gentry, of being somebody who has both played for Mark Few and also been on the sideline with Mark Few in a coaching and administration capacity. And of course, you know, for you, you did those things a handful of years apart. And what was it like kind of going on the other side of the curtain, as it were, and kind of getting that experience to see how the coaching staff operates in ways that maybe you didn't just see as a player during your time with the team?
No, I loved it. So honestly, like just getting back into it, it was kind of hard just because I just came off of playing. So I wanted to, that first year, like kind of get out of my system. Like, I'm not a player anymore. I'm not a player anymore. I want to learn everything. So it was hard in the beginning, but as the year went on, like, I found my niche, and it was kind of just like the bridge between the players and the coaches. So, like, connecting with the players and then kind of, working them out here and there, like just being around and being a sponge. That was like the biggest thing my first year. And then just kind of learning like the film stuff. Like Ken was really good for me. Ken Nakagawa, he's at Arizona right now, but he helped me a lot with the film stuff. And then, picking Tommy's brain, picking Coach Few's brain, seeing, why we're doing certain things. Because when you're playing in it, you're just like, you're not really thinking about it. You're like, I'm going to knock down this shot when I'm open or, things like that. And it's like, oh, okay, now I see why I was here in this play, because, if they helped, I was a good shooter. Now I can knock this down. So just seeing it in that way, it was great those first 2 years.
Well, I don't feel like it's been that long since the Gary Bell era at Gonzaga. That's, of course, I was a student there around the same time as you. But we've seen Gonzaga go through a fairly significant amount of changes. Of course, 2 national championship appearances, starting to get 5-star recruits, something that we hadn't seen as much of in the previous era for Mark Few and the Zags. And of course, you kind of got an experience being a player there for 4 years and then with the staff for a couple of years as well. But with these changes in terms of, brand recognition and certainly a few more Final Four appearances than they've had in the past, have you really noticed a change in terms of like how the coaching staff operates, how they, go about their day-to-day business, how they recruit, how they find talent? Or is it kind of just business as usual? They just kind of kept that steady upward climb, has just been going and going and going?
I think that's the beauty of it too, man. Like, obviously, yeah, we're able to get those guys, but
Mhm.
coach hasn't really changed as far as, who he is. He's always going to be, how he's going to
Mhm.
coach guys kind of the same way. I wouldn't say he's not as hard
Mhm.
as he was, in the past, but you kind of have to adapt
Mhm.
with the generations and
Mhm.
how kids are coached now. But as far as like the recruiting stuff, he's him. He's him.
Mhm.
I think winning over these past whatever 20 years, that
Mhm.
obviously helps with the recruiting stuff. Guys just want to come and play for, a Hall of Fame coach, future Hall of Fame coach. Um, but as far as him changing his recruiting tactics, it was kind of the same,
Mhm. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but returning from playing overseas, returning from, kind of the transition from ending your professional playing career, your basketball playing career in general. Did you always know that you wanted to go into the coaching area? Was that kind of the plan all along? At what point did you kind of realize, hey, this is what I want to do? And kind of along the way, how did you kind of find that being the goal for you long term?
To be honest, like I didn't know I was gonna be a coach.
Mhm.
Obviously, I thought I'd still be playing. To be
Mhm.
honest, I thought I'd still be playing basketball overseas at a high level. I still love the game now, but
Mhm.
just giving back, I think that's something that I've always done. As far as when I was playing, so Joe Few, like
Mhm.
his AAU team, I coached like a little bit in the summer. Tommy
Mhm.
Lloyd, he was like, "Man, I think when you're done, I think you'll be a good coach one day." So that's always stuck in my head. Um, and there was one year, it was at Kevin Pangos' wedding.
Mhm.
I saw him there, and I was like, I don't know how many more years I want to do it. I have my family, my kids, and it's like I feel like I'm missing out. So if you have anything, I definitely want to get into this coaching space. And I just threw it out there.
Mhm.
So a year goes by and I get a text from him on WhatsApp. And I'm like, man, what is this? I haven't talked to Tommy in a while. And he was just like, I'm taking you up on that offer. I was like, you remember that? Like that was a year ago. He was like, oh, I remember everything. So gave him the opportunity to come be a GA, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Tommy. That was a good segue into that because obviously, a guy who spent decades coaching alongside Mark Few, got that associate head coach gig for a decade or so, and has had an unbelievable amount of success in his first couple of years at Arizona. I think he's the first coach to win 60 games in his first 2 years as a first-time head coach ever. And people will say, "Oh, it helps to inherit a good team like Arizona," but it's really darn hard to win 60 games in 2 years, regardless of the talent you have. And you look at the way that this program has been built. I mean, obviously a handful of Zags over there, Rems over there, Shems over there. You got some Gonzaga blood over there at Arizona. But I gotta imagine that you weren't surprised at all to see him have that success, just having worked with him for so long at Gonzaga as a player and in your other roles.
Oh no, I wasn't surprised at all. It was the people that were surprised was probably a lot of the Arizona
Mhm.
alum and people like
Yeah.
that. But guys that's been around Tommy,
Mhm.
forever, they knew he can coach his at. Or sorry, I was gonna
No, you're good.
they knew he can coach. So
Mhm.
seeing him go down there and have that early success was something that we kind of already knew. It was
Mhm.
just getting those guys to buy in and believe in all the stuff that he was telling them, and because it works. A lot of the stuff that that he did at Gonzaga, it obviously works.
Mhm.
You win doing stuff his way. So
Yeah.
it was nice to see him go down there and have that success.
Coming up, Gary and I are going to chat about his first season on the sidelines at NAU and his role with the staff as a recruiter, all coming up after a word from today's sponsor, LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, which helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's super easy to create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs and then you just add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. From there, simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and ultimately hire. Let's be honest, adding the right team member can have a positive and measurable impact on your business. And that's why LinkedIn Jobs is rated #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors by small businesses. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode of Locked On Zags is also brought to you by DoorDash. Do you need fresh groceries for the week, but you don't have the time to go to the store? Try the grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it right to your door. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you pick them up yourself. You want even more value? You can save on all of your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and the best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want them. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at checkout. Limited time offer, terms do apply. That's 50% off up to $20 and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for 50% off your first order with DoorDash. Folks, I want to thank all of you for making Locked On Zags your first listen or your first watch of the day. Shout out to those everyday listeners on YouTube. We hit that 2,000 subscriber mark. Very happy we made that. But let's get to 2,500. We can get there before the start of the college basketball season. So if you haven't done so yet, go to Locked On Zags on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Now we're going to get back into our conversation with Gary Bell, talking about his first year on the sidelines at Northern Arizona and his role with the team. Let's talk a little bit about the gig at Northern Arizona. You've been there a little over a year now. We talked about it a little bit already, but the adjustment, you go from playing to being a graduate assistant. To what was the adjustment from, I guess, not just stepping into an actual assistant coach role, which I imagine is different, but also, going to a completely different school, working with a completely different coaching staff, in a different conference, different talent level, all the various changes that kind of happened in that first year. What was that experience like, and kind of not having Few around, not having Lloyd around, those guys that you kind of had a lot of experience with? How did that go for you in year one?
So at first, I got my NAU stuff on right now.
Darn right. Rep it.
No, it's a Zag podcast. No, it was I wouldn't say it was rough because like Shane, Coach Burkhardt here, he had a lot of confidence in me to honestly give me a job, to come here and help. And I didn't know, this is how I look at a lot of stuff. You don't know if you're ready until you're actually doing it.
Sure.
So for me, just like, taking that leap and coming out here, I was like, I'm gonna be super confident. Obviously, you're gonna mess up here and there, but that was like the two biggest things, just being confident in everything that I did. Like whenever I talk, because I know what I'm talking about, but if you say it in a timid way, like guys are gonna pick up on that and question things. So I appreciate the players because they allowed me to, coach them. If I would have came in and you're a first year head coach or first year assistant coach, like you don't know what you're talking about, but they didn't do that. They allowed me to coach them all year, and just got better as the year went on. Just remember my first scout, super nervous, like instant sweats when you're out there talking to the team, but that's the first one. But as the year went on, you get better. You find, different ways to get your point across. And it was obviously a really good learning year for me.
When you kind of talk about what your role is within that coaching staff at NAU, and I don't know if it's changed much between last year and as you head into this year, but what are kind of the things that you primarily focus on? I know recruiting is a big thing for all the assistant coaches, but are there like areas of specialty within the actual like X's and O's coaching and film study and stuff that you kind of prioritize with the team that you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm doing like all the offense, so offensive coordinator. Coach calls it, but I'm putting in, the Gonzaga offense as far as like, ducking in, high, low, just flow, how Gonzaga and Arizona play.
Mhm.
Obviously, I played in it, and then seeing it as a grad assistant in operations the past 3 years, I knew it. So coming here and actually coaching it and teaching it, that was a struggle in the beginning, but like I said, I just got better every day. And, the players here, they didn't really get it at first because nobody really plays like, Gonzaga and Arizona. So,
Mhm.
we struggled in the beginning, but as the year went on, like I said, we got a lot better. Numbers went up. When I got here, offense was, I think, like 300s on
Mhm.
Ken Palm. End of the year, we're like, in the hundreds. So
Sure.
right at 100. So, this year we're clicking. It's early, but we're a lot better than where we were last year at this time.
You mentioned the kind of the steady climb, and that was absolutely the case with the team last year. I mean, this is a team that didn't finish particularly well in the regular season, but had a monster run through the Big Sky tournament, nearly so close
I
to
know.
earning that spot in the Big Dance. It was one of the kind of the most exciting conference tournaments at the mid-major level last year, and you got to imagine. I know that there's a significant amount of turnover and a couple really key pieces from that team who are out the door, but you got to think that the momentum of like, hey, we know we can beat every team in this league, and we know we can make it to the NCAA tournament. We were a few possessions away from doing it coming out of the 9 seed. Like, how does that translate into the next year, even with a few pieces out and a few new pieces in? Does it kind of feel like, hey, we know we can do that again?
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
We're definitely on a high right now. Like you said, we're 7 points away from
Mhm.
punching our ticket. But just going back, it was a rough year. But just going from our head coach, Coach
Mhm.
Burkhardt, like how good of a leader he is, and
Mhm.
honestly how good of a coach he is. Guys would have quit, on any other team, like having the year that we had.
Mhm.
Like the record and losing a lot of tough games, like close games. I think we lost 5 games by 1 point. Like teams would have quit and would have been counting days down. But every day he came in with the same, fire. He's a fiery coach. Fire, like coaching the guys. He never stopped coaching, and the guys never stopped believing. I think that's why we were able to make that run. And then, like you said, losing a few pieces from last year's team, we still have like our core pieces
Mhm.
still here. So we added a few, and then we kept some of our core. I think we'll be, a lot better than we were last year. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this year.
And I think you kind of touched on it too, of like wanting to be able to implement a specific style offensively that is somewhat unique. And part of that is you kind of need the personnel to do it.
Yep.
And when you come in and you start putting in a new set with guys who maybe haven't run that set before, or maybe aren't as familiar with it, or maybe just aren't as equipped to do it, it's a certain type of player, a certain type of mentality to be able to run that Gonzaga Arizona offense. It's part of the reason that Few and Lloyd seem to be recruiting the same kids every year in the portal and in the out of high school, because they want that same style. And for you now getting the opportunity to start to, maybe have more of a say in finding those types of guys. And you look, I mean, Jalen Cohn's a guy who averaged a whole bunch of points last year. He's out the door at Cal, but you got an opportunity to bring some guys in who maybe fit better. Was that kind of part of the mentality with the guys you brought in the transfer portal and the incoming freshmen joining the team this year?
Oh, for sure. Like Coach Burkhardt, obviously the whole staff, we do
Mhm.
a good job of trying to, get guys that fit what we do instead of
Mhm.
just, going for guys that might not even fit
Mhm.
what, what we want to do offensively and defensively. So getting Carson Basham,
Mhm.
that was a great pickup, a big guy from Pepperdine, can duck in, can be a presence at the rim. And then also, like I said, having a guy like Carson Tout that was here
Mhm.
last year, that's, a rugged player, knows the game. Now he can go kind of play his natural position, be a four and kind of facilitate and look high low and be able to dribble handoff and make plays at the rim, make plays for others. So um, we have some pieces. We have some pieces this year.
I was going to mention Carson Basham because so I also host the Locked On College Basketball podcast, and we did a Big Sky conference preview. And one of the things we talked about was who's going to be the newcomer of the year. And I was like, man, I saw this kid at Pepperdine. You could tell he was really kind of growing into his own. And big, like you said, shot blocker, rim protector, guy who's got some range on offense. I think he was like second or third on their team in assists too. And it feels to me like he's a guy who, there's not a lot of guys his size in the conference, so that's already an advantage for him. But he strikes me as somebody who could make a real impact for the Lumberjacks next year.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
I also want to talk on that. So Carson's a guy that Zags fans have probably seen because they watch the Pepperdine games. The other guy that Gonzaga fans are going to be pretty familiar with, of course, is Liam Lloyd, who was, a much younger kid when you were playing at Gonzaga. What's the experience been like getting a chance to see him kind of, grow into his own as a man and as a college basketball player, and kind of getting a new role with him now as one of his coaches?
It is kind of crazy because, when I left as a senior, I want to say he was, 12, maybe 13. So it was, you still see him like that. And then you come back 4 years later, he's graduating high school, and then he's going to GCU. And now being able to coach him, it's been really good because, somebody I was familiar with coming here. And then, like I said, he's allowing me to coach him. He's not looking at me as, the Gary Bell that played for Gonzaga. He's looking at me as a coach. And he's been great. He's had a great spring and summer and fall. So I'm excited to see, all the stuff that we've been working on, for him to show it this year. So honestly, just everybody's gotten better, man. It's been great being here a full year and being able to coach for a full year. It's obviously helped me out, and then obviously helping these guys out, because like I said in the beginning, just giving back. That's why I wanted to get in this, giving back the knowledge I had from playing, and passing it down to these guys.
Kind of talked about the transition from player to coach and being on a different, the other side of the curtain, as it were. And I kind of wanted to ask about that from a recruiting perspective as well, because, you obviously were recruited coming out of high school, and then now you get to do the recruiting, and recruiting more than almost anything else in college athletics has changed in a significant way, just in terms of the rules around it, of course, the NIL around it, of course, the transfer portal, which has an impact as well. And for you, what has been that experience in terms of trying to kind of figure out your spot in terms of recruiting, how to sell the school, and also just knowing what as somebody who went through it on the other side and was recruited, and know kind of what, what's going on in these kids' minds? How have you been able to use that to your advantage when out on the trail?
Kind of like what you just said. I've been through it, and I just getting out of my comfort zone. I was never one to really reach out or do any of that. So getting out of my comfort zone this year, and honestly just meeting new people, because I feel like that's all it is, and creating relationships with people, and real relationships, not just I'm calling because I want you here, because kids are gonna I feel pick up on that. It's oh, he's being fake. So even if kids don't choose to come to NAU, I feel like you still create a relationship with them, and you might see them later on down the trail. So just always creating good relationships, and just being a good person to anybody that you meet. And I feel like I've always had that, but now having to recruit and really put myself out there and reach out, I see that I can really do it. So it's been a great year for me, man. Just getting out of my comfort zone.
Closing out today's show with listener submitted questions to Gary from the Locked On Zags Discord channel. All that coming up after a word from today's sponsor, FanDuel. Get ready for week 3 of the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is super easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props to the money line and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you will not want to miss. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Well, Gary, I want to close out the show here, taking a handful of listener-submitted questions. These were submitted on the Locked On Zags Discord channel for anybody out there listening who wants to join. It's free. You can join in. We're talking Zags 24/7 and get a chance to ask some questions ahead of time for guests like Gary here. So I got 6 questions for you, Gary. This first one comes from Derek. He asks, were there factors other than basketball that led to you choosing Gonzaga out of high school?
Uh, honestly, I guess just the family. Like,
Mhm.
I guess everybody says that. Like,
Yeah.
it's true. When
Mhm.
you go there, you get on campus. It's the family atmosphere. Like,
Mhm.
coach has his family there at the time. They were really young. Now they're
Mhm.
they're all grown, but um, he had his family there. His wife is always around, and then the coaches' wives and all that too. Like, it was that dynamic, and then the players, they all hung out together. So it was that was a big factor of why I wanted to go there. And the basketball, that obviously helps
Mhm.
too. You win, you play in the tournament. Yeah.
This question comes from Brandon. He asks, "Who was your favorite teammate or teammates while you were at Gonzaga?"
My favorite teammates,
Mhm.
probably the freshman I came in with,
Yeah.
Kevin,
Mhm.
Kyle, um, guys like that. Ryan Spangler at the time, but I'd say, more
Yeah.
Kevin and Kyle. Eric McClellan, Ren
Mhm.
Backham is just everybody, man.
Yeah.
It's like we all have like stories that can't tell, great ones, but
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of everybody, man, to be honest.
You, Kevin, and Kyle played a whole heck of a lot of basketball games together. I'm not surprised to hear that answer. That's a group of guys that were there all 4 years. It was fun to see. Fun to see you guys grow. Next question is another one from Brandon here. He asks, since your graduation, of the players who have played at Gonzaga since then, who is one player out of that group that you would have wanted to play with? I'm sure there's more than one, but who kind of stands out in the 2015 to now Gonzaga era that you want to play with?
Um, Shoot, I played with Josh. He could pass the ball.
Yeah.
He was gonna pass to me. Um, I'll probably go Brandon Clark.
Yeah.
Brandon Clark. I played with some great bigs, so
Mhm.
you know, you know, Kyle Wilchers to
Mhm.
Domases to
Mhm.
Rob Sacre. At least I played with some great bigs, but I'd go with Brandon Clark.
And
Just throw it
you,
up at the rim like he was gonna.
yeah. Not a lot of people scoring on Brandon when he was there, man. It was a
No.
tremendous season for him. Next question here comes from Spring on Discord again. She says, "What do you miss most about playing at Gonzaga?" I'm sure there's a lot of things there.
What do I miss most about playing there?
Mhm.
I'd say the locker room.
Yeah.
The locker room, just like you never when you leave, you never really have that. It's
Mhm.
that the talks we had, you know, just everything. I feel like the after practice, guys just stay in the locker room for forever, and they're talking, debating who's better, Kobe or LeBron, like things like that. So yeah, I miss the locker room probably the most.
Next question here from Nick. Nick asks, "If you had a mulligan to play one game over as a Zag, which one would it be?"
Mm, One game. Can I pick two?
Yes.
Because this game has actually been coming up a lot.
Mhm.
So I was recruiting in Phoenix
Mhm.
this past week, and David Miller, he's at Xavier right now.
Mhm.
He brought up the game at Arizona and how we lost at McKell
Yeah.
my senior year. I play that one over because we should have won that game.
Mhm.
And then I go to the Elite Eight game against Duke,
Yeah.
play that one over. I think we come out with a win.
Two fantastic games that just did not quite go the way that Gonzaga fans wanted them to, but those were some fun ones. Final question here. I left this one for the end because it's very NAU specific, and I love that. It comes from Lefty on Discord, who says, "Which smoothie place on NAU's campus is the best? Do you have a particular smoothie place that you like over there?"
Oh man, see that's bad. I honestly I don't have a smoothie place. If I'm gonna get a smoothie, it's gonna be from our So we just got a new $47 million
Mhm.
um high performance center.
Mhm.
So they make smoothies for the football team,
Ah,
and I'd probably go with one of those smoothies because I've had that on campus.
that does sound like it'd be pretty good. They said that there's Jamba Juice and there's one in the Health and Life Center that they have to pick from, but it sounds like you got yourself an extra advantage there going on
Jamba
campus.
Juice, you can't lose with Jamba Juice either.
Yeah, Jamba Juice is undefeated.
Razzmatazz.
Gary, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, talk about NAU. I know that hopefully we got some more Zags fans who are going to get plugged into the program, maybe some Arizona Zags who will go check them out. I think it's going to be a really fun year for the Lumberjacks, and I
Yep.
appreciate you again.
I appreciate it, man. Go Jazz.
Huge thanks to Gary Bell Jr. for coming on the show today. That's going to wrap us up here on the Locked On Zags podcast. Check us out next week. We'll be back talking about Asa Newell, five-star prospect, in the class of 2024, who is choosing between Gonzaga, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia. We're going to talk all about him, what it would mean for him to come to Gonzaga, potentially how it impacts Zoom Diallo's recruitment as well. For now, though, thank you so much for listening. Very much appreciate you. Have a fantastic weekend. And as always, go Zags.